the smallest of origami birds, not paper boats, but origami birds. White and yellow paper birds are held in small hands. And a stream that might as well be a river for these little birds rushes beneath us. Real birds, white and yellow and blue and red, sing in the branches as we prepare for this childhood gamble. The sturdy wooden bridge spans the stream, its unvarnished grain held together by rusted hinges. And my cousin and I plan to race these birds to see which ones will win. And on the count of 3, he drops his yellow one and I drop my white one. And then we rush to the other side of that bridge to see which one will come faster, which one will come out from under that bridge first. And mine makes its appearance first, while his gets caught in a swirl of liquid and dead leaves before being spat out and released and making its way under the bridge. This flow, this flux, this movement, this being carried sticks with me. It's what's in my mind this morning. It catches me. Nothing solid or predictable. This surging forth, this being unconstrained, this being part of the flux in the flow makes me think so much of life and God. Rivers have always reminded us of the sacred. Water is life. It is holy. Roland Faber writes of water's sacredness in his book, The Cosmic Spirit. Streams and rivers are inextricably linked to human expectations for and hopes of life. Other than the salty ocean, the river is the water of life for those who are thirsty. Names of grand streams immediately trigger memories of the birth and the sphere of civilizations, but also the adventures, exportations, expeditions, remote mysteries, remote lands, and religious imaginations. The Nile, the Amazon, the Indus, the Yangtze, the Danube, and the Mississippi. The Niger, the Volga, the Mekong, the Ohio, the Euphrates, and the Colorado, the Tigris, the Rhine, the Congo, the Yukon, the Thames, the River Grande, the Jordan, and the Ganges. They are sources of travel, change, commerce, villages, cities, food, pleasure, escape, flooding, drowning, fear, death, relief, hope, and life. The flow of the river, writes Faber, is itself enough to transport any onlooker into the essential movement of flux, quietly drawn into that great stream, majestically passing our spot, dragging us into its loud screaming, surfing impassable rapids, or crashing resistant rock formations, and pulled by gravity, plunging to depths. We are being excused from our little selves, our trivialities, and we are being dragged into the stream of life to take leave of our problems. From the perspective of those little origami birds, the ones that my cousin and I dropped into the water all those years ago, there is nothing fixed, nothing to hold on to. It is all passing, changing. It is meeting and merging and parting. It is swirling and flowing and, yes, sometimes sinking, sometimes breaking the surface. Nothing is hard in that stream. Nothing is permanent. There is no rock upon which one can build a house. Rocks don't float. They do not flow. To stay on the river, You have to keep pace with the flow. You have to stay in the flux, and that means accepting change, impermanence. The ancient philosopher Heraclitus put it this way: no one enters the same river twice. Every time you wade into it, the exact elements that made up that river from one moment to the next are gone. And you too are a different person each time you approach that stream with new experiences, experiences of life. That is always bringing you new as you approach this stream. Every moment of our lives are in the flow. And every time I meet those who are familiar to me, the river has changed. You are a different congregation than the one that I stood before last week. And that's not because of the time change. My husband is a different person than the one that I kissed the day before. I am a different person from moment to moment, growing, maturing, aging, loving, learning, forgetting, expanding our hearts and minds, being affected by new grief and loss. We are always changing, flowing, just like the river. We are, after all, 60% water. I'm not going to lie. There's a penetrating sadness to this. There is loss here. Grief is a part of these waters. Tears are a part of these waters. That particular arrangement that merged together when I was little, that arrangement of things that allowed my cousin and I to stand on that bridge with those origami birds all those years ago, will never be again. If he and I were to stand on that bridge today, it wouldn't be the same. I am different, and so is he. We are no longer children. We are adults with full lives, often too busy to watch origami birds float down a stream. Our lives have flowed in different directions, and as much as I may wish to recreate that experience, to get back to it, to at times feel nostalgia for it, there is no going back. The river of life has flowed on. In process theology, there is a term for this, and it's a term that I think of often: perpetual perishing. Perpetual perishing. Every moment is a death. Every moment is a profound loss. And what is happening now, in all of its exquisite beauty and heartache, will never again be. The river flows on. And there's also tragedy here. There is tragedy in the way that people and systems dam up the river, causing many to suffer and to die from thirst. In her novel, Lapvona, Otessa Moshfegh analogizes this tragedy. She writes of a wealthy landlord who dams a river to create a swimming hole for himself. And this act ends up killing crops and livestock and people further downstream. It is her encapsulation of the ways that racism and capitalism hoard resources and prevent the waters of life from reaching real people. It is an encapsulation of the ways that rivers are poisoned and oceans are filled with plastic, and the cry of the earth goes unheeded. Womanist scholar Emily Towns calls this the fine rain of death that is made to fall on certain groups and not on others. But perhaps the good news here The good news on this river that is always flowing and changing is that things do change. Things do change. And we can be the ones to help that change, help that flow, help justice flow like waters. If there is penetrating sadness and injustice in all of this, there is also joy, even ecstasy. This week I was walking in Ryerson Woods along the Des Plaines River, and the water level was much higher than at other times. And like a vortex, it was pulling all sorts of branches and sticks and detritus into its flow. It had a steady roar to it. And I would like to say that I was silently communing with the water, engaging in some deep spiritual practice of listening in silence. But I wasn't. I was listening to music on my headphones. I was listening to my favorite album by Florence and the Machine, and her song Free came on. And the lyrics go like this: it picks me up, it puts me down 100 times a day. It chews me up, it spits me out. I hear the music, I hear the beat, and for a moment when I dance, I am free. It is a song about the surge of joy, flowing, pulsing, roaring through veins and arteries, viscera and bones. It is begging you to lose yourself in the flow, to open up your arms and give it your all, as the song goes. And that's just what happened to me on that trail. Joy rushed over me. It surged forth. It rushed through, roaring like the Des Plaines, coursing through body and heart and mind. And for a moment, I gave myself over to it, and I was free. And while no sacred book prescribes Florence and the Machine, at least not that I know of, isn't that in its own way a spiritual practice? To give yourself over to the flow of joy, to the surge of ecstasy, whenever and however it arrives. What if we took joy in all of its defiance of death and injustice very seriously and gave ourselves over to those small moments? That is real, that's alive, that's waiting for us whenever we are willing to go into that flow. There's something like a war of images in religious literature. Some religious texts compare God to a rock. Psalm 18 says, "The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my rock, in whom I take refuge." That imagery doesn't really do it for me. I think it somewhat misses the mark. It celebrates what it takes to be eternal and unchangeable, but in doing that, it misses the pulse and the flow, the crest and the surge, the flux and the flow of life. Some of the mystics got this. They understood it at a deep, intuitive level, and this is why the profound medieval religious thinker, poet, and mystic Meister Eckhart imagined the divine essence as a boiling sea that boils over, creating the world from its outflowing of creativity and energy and life. It is unconstrained vitality. It is force. It is life that keeps pouring itself again and again into every moment, overflowing the bounds of constraint and thought and possibility, this pulsing flow, this change and flux that infuses life with its vibrancy. It is this coursing, this palpitating, this surging that crests past every limit and pulls us towards its inexorable flow. It takes the deepest trust for us to let go, to give ourselves to that flowing instability. But in those moments of ecstatic joy and exquisite sadness, love and loss, beauty and pain, life is at its fullest and most divine. And my God, don't we want to experience that? Don't we need to experience that? I will take that boiling sea boiling over, that flux and flow, that pain and ecstasy. Let it wash over me. Let it wash over us. Let our lives dance amid the rapids and the waves, trusting the flux and the flow. My spiritual companions, flow on.